Hello, how's everyone doing? Happy Monday. If you had a holiday this weekend, or if it was just like every other day in quarantine, I hope you're doing well. Hello. Oops, need to turn the sound off. There, get rid of the echo. Okay, so the list of coins that we're going to do tonight are underneath the video in order. Those are the ones that were requested today. So those are the ones that we're going to look at. I thought we'd start by looking at stock market because although we noticed that the correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market broke down quite a lot last week, especially going into the holiday weekend, there is still a risk that if stock market collapses, halving or not or whatever, it could take Bitcoin down with it. What I've been very pleased to see, quite often into a 3-day holiday weekend, although I know it wasn't a holiday in America, for 1st of May for quite a lot of the rest of the world was a big holiday. It's certainly a holiday in Japan this week, and so on. So, potentially when you have a holiday weekend, what you tend to see is the trend going into the holiday weekend or the end of the month gets reversed after the weekend. And, so we've had a little pullback, and what I was looking at here in the S&P was this pullback to these daily moving averages, the 20 and the 50. And if I draw my fibs from this high to low, we've reversed it to 61.8, which is messy, and it very often is messy at a 61.8 fib. But this 50% pivot level in the middle has been really good support today, and that was really our breakdown level. When you reverse at a 61.8, you tend to go to the 38.2 fib if you break this 50% level in the middle. So it became really key that we held 27.80. Now, in relation to the drop, this is a very small hammer. In fact, I wouldn't call it a hammer. The tail, it's too small of a candle, really. It's just a little spinning top, if you like. It's not going to be a bullish reversal in candlestick terms unless we close 50% up of this red candle before it, and then we will have a 3-day doji star, evening star. They're called, if you have them at top or at the bottom, they're called evening star reversal and morning stars, so reversal patterns, and then they become a 3-day reversal pattern. So for here in the S&P, we would measure 50% of the open close of this red candle, and if we close above that, and I think there's a bit of a level here around 28.56, then we're not going to do that full 61.8, 38.2, and we're just going to carry on with the trend higher and hold this 20 moving average, which is quite a good, the trend is your friend, and so this 20 moving average is your best friend here on the daily. It was the highs here that capped us, and it was support also around the 22nd when we pulled back as well. So still heading higher, and then if we can obviously close more than 50% up of this red candle, I think we can continue to look higher to the 200 moving average. And then probably we'll get to the end of the week. We are in... Oh, this is not a good night for the internet not to work very well. Here we go. Keeps dripping in and out. Buffering. I know. Should be okay now. Sexy Katie Hopkins. You don't think I sound like Nigella? Okay, I'm a pretty good kick. That's what you sound like. Katie Hopkins. Okay. So, yeah, looks like the internet's all right now. I'm amazed the internet has... Can you imagine? 1/3 of the world got locked up in quarantine. Everybody is using the internet and it didn't break. Isn't that amazing? I'm pretty impressed. I have to say, I am, And I know, that is, exactly. I do have quite fast internet normally, but, you never know, right? Okay, so when we get to the end of the week, we have massive event risk this week. Now, what is the non-farm payroll going to tell us? Not that much, to be honest. We already know it's going to be dreadful because we know from the weekly job numbers it's going to be dreadful. But I have a feeling that this jobs number is going to be really dreadful, like nothing we have ever seen in the credit crunch. well over 1 million. And I think the biggest we saw in the credit crunch was like in the 500,000s. We would have 500,000, the number would come out, and like the arse would just fall out of everything in the market. And so I have no idea what's going to happen on Friday, but it's going to be wild, and we should get ready for it. And we'll get a bit of an indicator on Wednesday and Thursday with numbers, the preceding numbers as well. But for now, we're holding support in these stock indexes. And if we look at all of them, so if we look at the NASDAQ, we have the similar setup where we reversed sharply at a 786 fib here. We've pulled back to the one that we broke underneath, the 61.8. If we measure from the lows, we're holding this 2.236 fib retrace from this low. So that keeps us in a Fibonacci uptrend. Take that away. And we're also holding this daily 20 moving average, our best friend here in the NASDAQ as well. So looking pretty good. No trend reversal yet in any of these US stock indexes. Marginal little bounces. It was a bit ugly in the DAX today, mainly because we were closed on Friday. So when they had the big sell-off, the DAX was closed, and so it gapped down, and then it gapped and yapped basically. Gap and yap is when you have a big gap and then you just don't do anything except go sideways and chop people up. So hello everyone. Internet's looking good now, so hopefully everyone's doing okay. Can see me okay. If we look at the Dow Jones, we've got the same thing. Pull back to the daily moving averages now. Support. This pink line was the 20 moving average. That was resistance. Now support. And so we know clearly now, I think we should be careful. I think you should watch out for volatility. And there's not really much you can, and watch out for it. You see, I'm a big believer that markets don't make a top on bad news. They make a top when they stop going up on good news. And we have unlimited good news in the bounty of the Fed and the money printing machine. So, and that money has to go somewhere. I think it can go into assets, but we're going to get earnings and results, and we're going to get warnings from companies who are closed, who aren't selling anything. So many businesses, are shut down. And I think that when they start to come in, that no amount of money is going to help. We're going to, there are going to be some very big winners in pharmaceuticals and people who make masks and things, or pasta or toilet rolls. And everybody else is going to be in a little bit of trouble, I think. So for now, though, for the rest of the week, and that's what we're looking at. For the rest of the week, we look pretty well supported in stocks. We look like we are good to bounce, at least for a couple of days. And that should support Bitcoin, because in Bitcoin, here, I'm going to take all the stuff off my chart to start with here like this. In Bitcoin, here's this downward channel that we've been in. I'm going to draw my channel initially from here. I can't do it here. I've got all my stuff comes back. Okay, so if we draw from this highs, we have stopped at this line up here. We have stopped around the 50% from this high to this low, and we have paused in our uptrend. If you look at candlesticks, you can see, we talk about this 50% line of these big thrust candles, Maribosu lines. In terms of, we had a big rally and then we had this bearish red reversal candle, didn't we? And in terms of closing, we didn't close more than 50% down on this big green thrust candle. So that's not a reversal yet. For now, it's just sideways. We've had a massive rally and we're gapping and yapping sideways at potentially some important resistance. So if we put our lines back on our chart from okay, so if I go from this high to this low, we're at the 786 fib here. If I go from the high that we made in June last year, we're around this 50%. So there's a lot of confluence. And if we look at the big highs from 2017 to the lows in 2018, we're also at this big 38.2 fib, 94.50. I think that the price is a little bit higher if you're trading against Tether, for example, at Binance. But that's the level that we've got to get above. Now, if I draw, let's take these fibs off. So we know we're kind of around resistance. If we zoom out, I think a lot of wave people are looking at maybe this could be a big triangle. For now, we've got a high in 2017, a high here, and this line I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a magnet, so we can draw a line from that high to this high. But if we break out here, which we could do, we've got our third touch pause, so we've validated this trend line. So now when we break it, I think we could be looking at maybe a little bit higher. If we get to here, we get to these previous highs and the 10,500. Now, why would there be confluence here? Well, I'll take that away from a minute. If this is just a triangle consolidation, then if I measure this swing, so I measure the rally from the December 2018 low, and I project it from this low here, you can see that when we get to these previous highs, and when we get to this trend line, and when we get up here at around 10,500, that's where this rally will be 61.8 of the rally that we made in December 2018. And that's very common. So in other words, if this rally is just a big ABC, 61.8 of the first swing is very common kind of resistance level. So I'm feeling like 10,460 would be bearish if we stopped here and reversed. It would be. I'm not going to, and a bit disappointing, but it looks to me like more of a minimum target, and I feel like we have more to run. When I look at the RSI, we are up in the overbought territory, but I feel like we have more room to go. So for now, unless we reverse or we break out, I'm pretty neutral, but I'm leaning bullish. I'm leaning bullish because we're still above the 200 moving average. I'm leaning bullish because we don't seem to be wanting to give anything back, and because 10,000, 10,500 is a bit of a magnet level, I think. So, but we've got the halving, haven't we? This horizontal line is the halving, which is going to be a week. Today, I think it's going to be the 11th. Now, we've only had two kind of really big halvings before. The first time we halving, and then we set off on a spectacular rally. The most recent one, after that, we actually sold off for a couple of weeks after the halving before we found our feet and carried on. So I'm not going to say, that it's not going to be this line in the sand where we're going to have this massive rally, and it's really going to be down to the miners. They're the ones that sell the Bitcoin that will cause us to have a pullback. So I'm open. If we do, for me, 8,000 is people say to me, well, where am I going to, because I'm long, I've got a half position. I suppose I'm half invested at this point. I've taken half off to wait and see if we can break out or not, or if we have a bigger pullback, and I'm kind of half in. So for me, with that half in that I'm still in, if we close below 8,000, or if we close below this 200 moving average, I'm out, and I'm going to wait for a bigger pullback. And that's mainly based on, if I put my 236 fib on from the low that we made in March, that's kind of around there. It's not quite, it's actually a little bit underneath it, but that round number I think might do the trick. So here, that 236 fib is 81.55 at Bitstamp. So I think below, that's really our Fibonacci trend support here if we don't go any higher. And so below there, and then below the 200 moving average and the 20 moving average and this 8,000, that's really where the major support for me comes in. So out of there, I'm going to be out of my longer term position, and I'm going to wait for a bigger pullback. And we'll see where we go. Because it could be, even if we have a target of these levels, this level here at 10,500 and then 14,500, we're not necessarily going to go there in a straight line. We could very easily come back, because this is 50% from this high to this low here. Mean reverting markets tend to keep mean reverting. So that would mean that if we did lose 8,000, we would come back 50% of this entire rally. So our support then is down here at 6,600. Well, if you go from 8,000 to 6,600, you've given a lot of profit back. And I don't really want to do that. So if we drop underneath 8,000, I will wait and I will buy it back at 6,600. And if I look left, 6,600 is kind of one of those funky levels. And this lovely little double bottom level in the middle. So quite a good support level to look at around here, 6,500, 6,600 if we pull back. So that's my plan, how I'm trading it. So if we break out higher here, I'm going to go back all in. If we pull back and hold 8,000 and turn higher again, I'm going to go back all in. And if we go underneath 8,000, I'm going to wait for 6,600 and buy it then. Okay? I'm still, based on the weekly chart, not bearish. Now, I should mention, there are some Elliott wave people who I respect who are not convinced that this is the start of a new impulse wave and that this may be the start of some big triangle consolidation. Well, even if it is, we should get from here up to sort of 14,500 before we find out. And so, you know, that's a nice long way from where we are now. So I'm going to hang on for the ride and see. Personally, I think that, I think that we are on our way, but let's see. I think we're on our way to new highs, and mainly to do with the dollar and money printing and the value of everything else. But, you know, Bitcoin still has a lot of problems that it has to fix, you know, like as in usage as well, real world usage. Okay, so pretty much the same story in ETH. I've talked too long about Bitcoin tonight. Okay, pretty much the same story in ETH. So here we are, and I take my Heikinashi off. Here's a daily chart of Ethereum. Let's clean up this chart and we'll start again. So in terms of our moving averages, we've had a really nice rally off the lows here. The problem is, up until we got above the 200 moving average, this was quite choppy and overlapping, which normally would make you go, oh, this is a rising wedge. This is all going to roll over and have a nasty drop. Since we've gotten above the 200 moving average, we've got a little bit trendier, but we really kind of need to find support here. If we put our fibs on again, when you think you have an ABC correction, which I think I have here, you put your fibs over both swings. If you do that, we stopped at the 50% from this high to this low. And so we need to be careful that we don't come back too far, because we will come back 50% the other way. So not too far for me is going to be 236 from these lows. So that's what I'm watching for support. 197.70. Funnily enough, as you know, I think of fibs as a little bit like a staircase, 197.70. And so that's the support that we're holding at the moment. But also, if we put in this 38.2 that's missing, you can see that that's our support here as well. The fib below, it's like a staircase. When you get above it, like we did here with this 236 fib, it should become support, and then you carry on. So we're sitting on our support, and we really don't want to close below 193. For me, that would be a bearish reversal. It would be underneath the back-tested 38.2 fib and the 20 moving average. So I was looking for a bounce from here this morning in Ethereum, and it hasn't disappointed. In fact, it's been a pretty nice ABC correction. Hasn't quite, though, rallied enough to say, yeah, I'm actually broken out and go higher. I'd really like to see us back above this hourly 200 moving average, just that little bit higher, if you know what I mean. But if I was to draw it on a 4 hour, it's not quite ready. I would probably draw this. And this third touch of this trend line would be resistance, and then that would confirm we are on our way higher again. But looking pretty good, just like looking pretty good in Bitcoin. But it's still really sideways consolidation. And if we look how long each one of these other corrections that we made in ETH took, for example, if we look how long we went sideways here before we turned up again, this was how long. We haven't done kind of that amount of time yet. If we look how long this correction took, exactly the same amount of time. So if you said, when is this going to be over? I'm going to say, well, look, you know, probably sometime tomorrow, another 24 hours to go. And then each one of these corrections in time would be the same. So patience Okay. Giselle says, you listened to a psychic. He said it was going to 1,000 and even lower, and that the stock market was going to climb again. Do you know, Giselle, she might be right. She might be right. And, you know, if you're trend following, if we're trend following, for example, and we are following Bitcoin, and if we get back underneath this 200-day moving average after a rally shape like this and a rising wedge, you know, why not be flat and wait and see for it to bottom again? You know, we don't have to ride it all the way down. So the stock market, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it climbs again, just because they've pumped so much money. So holding trend support in all of these, ADA, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're all doing pretty nicely. Let's take a look at Ethereum Classic. Always popular. So here's a daily chart of Ethereum Classic. I've been watching this one just because let's take everything off again, just because whenever you bunch up like this and you go sideways in a little range and you make a double bottom and you bunch up your moving averages, it usually precedes a pretty decent move. Plus, a double bottom always means you've stopped going down. Doesn't mean you're going up again, but it means you've stopped going down and you're going sideways, and a double top, same, means you've stopped going up. So here in Ethereum Classic, against this March low, early March low, we've got a very nice double bottom, and we've made this little sideways range here in the middle. Let's put regular candles on. Here's our little sideways range. And for me, we could draw it like this as a wedge, or we could say, okay, this is a horizontal. Sorry, internet's still slow. Anyway, if it's a little bit of a we need to get it flat with that one here. If it's a little bit of a horizontal, this is a pretty nice looking potential breakout and pullback retest, isn't it? If we can close back above these levels and these closing highs. So, yeah, I think this is all set to go higher, and I'm pretty impressed with the price action today and this reaction on the pullback. So let's take a look at it low. If we put our big fibs on in this one, where are we going? If we can break out of this bunched up range, first off, we're going to look for yeah, so wait, hold on. I'm going to put in these extra fib levels, 38.2 and 236 fib. Okay, 38. Okay, and if we zoom out here, I kind of have these this last 5 wave lower as my fibs for this, just because it worked pretty nicely on the way up. And when you reverse at a 786, your target's back to the 38.2. We kind of went a little bit beyond that. So this 38.2 for me potentially is a little bit of resistance, 8443. But let's, in fact, put our fibs on this swing so we know where our resistance is. And say, you know, we've got to get above the 236 fib, and then for sure we have broken out. So that's going to be our first kind of trouble area when we move. And it is a little, just like that other chart, it's a little bit higher, 8685. So 8685 confirms our reversal in F Bitcoin. Tom Vickers, why F Bitcoin analysis? Because for me, you know, when I trade crypto, for me, Bitcoin is my base currency. It's like, if I am going to buy another crypto, if I'm going to buy an altcoin, I'm going to usually spend Bitcoin to do it, okay? And so I don't just want to see that the Ethereum Classic dollar chart looks good. I want to see that the Ethereum Classic Bitcoin chart looks good too, because otherwise, if Bitcoin is going to perform better, I'm not going to spend my Bitcoin on whatever the altcoin is. And it's true when I look at, and I think that is true for most people, so that in terms of technical trading, more people are trading altcoins against Bitcoin than they are against dollars. Okay, and so yeah, on this chart in Ethereum Classic, we look way better. We're above the 200-day moving average. Everything is going our way. We've gone more than that tooth. We are looking for more upside. In fact, I'm looking for at least 8.68 in ETH US dollar. But I want to know that ETH Classic is going up against Bitcoin, or I'm just going to stay in Bitcoin. And if I sell my Bitcoin to buy an altcoin, it's because it's going to make me more Bitcoin, you know. One day, it may be that Bitcoin is not the prime coin, if you like, but for now it is. So, okay, and it is quite technically traded. You can see, so above, I think 8685, we're going to look for 10,400 in Ethereum Classic Bitcoin and so on. So a little bit of a sideways range, but very positive today. Yeah, very positive today, holding above these moving averages. In fact, I think this is a really nice long setup. If everything can go well with Bitcoin after this nice little ABC correction here, I think that this little hourly cluster, we should see this go sideways and then carry on higher. So looking good for Ethereum Classic Bitcoin. Okay, the only other one I would say we probably, I don't tend to do Ethereum US dollar, but I do look at Ethereum against Bitcoin quite a lot, because it's a really good altcoin indicator. When Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, alts tend to do better. When Ethereum is underperforming Bitcoin, not so much. And it's not so much at the moment. After a pretty nice rally, we are not so much. So definitely we should be looking at everything we're considering buying in this phase against Bitcoin and making sure that it's going up. So there we go. I did think earlier this month that we saw, or in last month, that we saw a lot of the bigger blue chip alts outperforming Bitcoin. I think people were worried that we would see more of a sell-off before the halving, and so they were kind of diversifying outwards. But Bitcoin, when Bitcoin takes off, it's like all the water moving in the bath. It's one way, isn't it? So, oh, you were asking for ETH Bitcoin analysis. Okay. Must be because you asked so politely. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to start with a weekly chart of ETH Bitcoin, because this is really, when you get flat moving averages like this, I know I say it all the time, when you get flat moving averages like this, you don't have a trend. I see this as a little bit of a channel, because we've got 2 touches on the bottom, 2 touches on the top, and they're parallel. But there is a lot to make me concerned that we have more downside to come, and we're going to pop out of this channel. This was a 50% reversal. This is clearly only an ABC up, okay? And so I think we're liable to a B leg down. So if this is our first leg, let's take that away. We know that was a 50%. So if we measure our first leg and we project it from here, you can see that 61.8, which would be kind of my minimum target, is back here at the lows, and 0.0209. So I think we've got further to fall in ETH Bitcoin, and potentially, down here. Now, let's see. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, we are going to hold these moving averages here, and we're going to rally from them. So far, and we're going to kind of do this 50% back of this swing. Yes, I'll add on link at the end, okay? So this daily moving average, 50% back, that's exactly where we are now, you can see. So potentially, if ETH is going to start to outperform Bitcoin, this is really where we want to see it. Otherwise, the risk is that we're going to see all the way back to these lows. So it's time for ETH to start outperforming, Tom. Okay, I'm going to look at, I'm going to go in the list at the moment because they were the ones that were asked for. The next one, I know I'm going really slow. I'll try and catch up. The next one we're going to look at is XTZ. Okay. Now, XTZ has topped. This is XTZ US dollar. We're going to look at that first, then we'll look at it against Bitcoin. Okay, we have topped at a 61.8 level in XTZ US dollar. That means that this 50% is very key support. And if we break it, 2.4696, we're going to do a bigger pullback to the 38.2 and down to this daily 50 moving average. So that's where you would get out and wait for this pullback in XTZ US dollar. Very important that we do not have a daily close below 2.469. In terms of XTZ Bitcoin, we are, let's see where we are. Again, yeah, potentially, because we're at that 50% back here. And if this is just a correction, 50% back is very often where you pause. Potentially, we could see a really nice rally from here. If this is the ABC correction complete and this is a new upswing, then this is what we would want to see. And back above this 20 moving average and a nice sharp move the other way would say that we were on our way. So I would go down even again and say above this too. So a close above 31.98, which is the 236 from this high to low and the 20 moving average, and we're on our way up again in Tezos Bitcoin. If we don't and we stall here and we find resistance here, we're going to keep going low, I'm afraid. And we're going to look at the bigger swing in this case. So if we can't get back above this level, if we measure, where are we likely to go down to? Let's see. If I measure from this high to this low here, and I project it from here, we're looking at 27.69. This is where this swing would be 61.8 of this swing. And if we make a bigger ABC correction, we're coming all the way back to the 200 moving average and all the way down here. That would be pretty ugly at 21.34. I would be surprised if we did that. These moving averages are quite bullish. So if we can't get above here, we'll look for support here like this. Next, 27.69. But watch the price action when we get here. You need to make sure that it's doing it. So next swing higher, target is 45.90. So let's put my fib back on here, like so. And if we're doing it right, it should be right when we're in the 1272. Yeah, that's where I'd be looking for next. But not going to happen if we can't get back above 32.46. Okay, next one we're going to do is ENJ. I hope. If I can remember where it is. Yeah, ZEC's been quite an interesting chart, hasn't it? We'll take a look at that one. I don't mind taking a look at that one at all. Here's Engine Coin. Let's start on the daily with this chart. Now, this is one where you see how this rally has been very choppy and overlapping. And when I say choppy and overlapping, I mean when we have a swing and we have a pullback. When you're in a trend, you have a swing and you have a move and then another one, and they don't come back. These waves don't overlap each other. And here in this here, even when we got above the 200 moving average in Engine, we've really struggled. And so that wasn't a very good sign. And then when we got to our first target, which was the 236 fib from the highs in Engine Bitcoin, we have had a pretty nasty reversal at this 236 fib. Sometimes you do that, you stall underneath them, and then the 236 fib going the other way would be support. That was just here at this double top. You know, if we were going to keep trending higher, we would have held support around here, and we haven't. So we're in a bigger correction at this point. And because of all these waves up, I think that we need to wait for at least 3 waves for Engine before we look at it, buying it again against Bitcoin. Unfortunately, I was really hopeful last week that we could break above this 200-day moving average, 236 fib, and it just hasn't happened. It's really pretty frustrating. So again, if we put, I'm going to just do the fibs from this low. So this 236 fib that we broke, that would now be resistance. So if we see a rally from here, if you've got some Engine, then back to 1723 maybe, or back and retesting this 236 fib if we then fail or make a lower high, I would say probably, yeah, lighten the load, move your stop up at the very least, and if not, maybe take some off the table in Engine, because I think you can see how each of these corrections were at least a couple of waves, A, B, C. We should see the same here, or we may see at this point, you know, we might see a triangle. Yeah, time to lighten the load, unfortunately, in Engine. Now, it doesn't mean that's against Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that against the dollar you're going to be doing quite so badly, but here against the dollar, from this high to this low, we double topped at a 61.8 fib level, or a slightly lower high anyway. Okay, the rules when we do that, you know, again at this 61.8, if we break the 50% in the middle, which we have, we're now stuck in this no man's land zone. Let me put in the 38.2. I think we're headed lower from here before we go higher again to Engine dollar around 0.115878. So here. So no trend, unfortunately, and I think lower prices will entice the buyers here in ENJ. Now ALGO, let's see what ALGO is up to. Okay, so I'll go around. My friend Tom Dante has a very reliable trading pattern called a swing failure pattern. So that's when you make a base or a double bottom, or as we did here in March, we made a pretty nice double bottom and we bounced off it. And we've come all the way back to retest this level. It's 2280, and here's our bullish reversal at this level. So when you get a swing failure pattern like this, you're looking for a move back to the first resistance. I would say that this fib level probably here at 2452 would be our resistance. That's how it worked before, so 2452, but potentially a little bit higher. If we look at this low here and these lows, if we come back, that's probably, it's looking just like my naked eyeball. It's looking to me like the next best resistance. So from here, Algorand Bitcoin back to 2,500, 2,520. And if we can get above there, then happy days. We will go back to the top of our range, which is up here. Here's the highs, and the highs and the 200-day moving average at 3,050. So 2,500 is important resistance in Algorand Bitcoin, and above 2,500 we can set course for the top of our sideways range and the 200-day moving average at 3,000. So not an uptrend, is it? It's just a bounce and a pretty nasty downtrend. So go carefully. Okay, that's Algorand Bitcoin. Listen, if you use your stops and you get stopped out into Bitcoin and Bitcoin is going up, it won't be that bad. It's only if everything is going down that this becomes a problem. If we look at Algorand against the dollar, Well, we're not going to be out of trouble unless we get above this 200-day moving average, but we are making quite a good effort. We are at least moving higher and holding support now pretty nicely. This is a pretty nice daily candle in ALGO dollar as well for more upside. If we draw it as a channel on a 4-hour or a 3-hour even, or even an hourly, let's do it like this. Then here's our downward channel. What the hell is it doing up there? Here's our downward channel. Third touch always a false break. So here's our parallel channel. So our target is going to be up here. ALGO US dollar around 0.2240, and above there would be our breakout. So that's what we're looking for in ALGO. ADA, had a brief chat about ADA at the beginning. ADA is very much in a similar position to Bitcoin, except that whereas Bitcoin is holding under like a 50%, this is holding underneath a 61.8 fib level. In ADA, we broke above a pretty cool support and resistance level and a big 50%. When you stop at a 618 fib, you're likely to reverse back to the 38.2 if you break the 50% in the middle. So we can say that if we break this level here, we're going to go to here. And so that becomes the support is at 4498 in ADA tether. And otherwise, we're going to continue higher again when we get above 5143. So that's our view of ADA dollar. Our view of ADA Bitcoin, in other words, is ADA has been outperforming Bitcoin, and this is a pretty nice chart too. If we zoom out though, we're not really in an uptrend, are we? We've made our higher low, lower high. We really need to find support here and carry on higher if we can. And if we were going to do that, this daily 20 moving average is the ideal place to do it, and we're holding it so far. So just waiting to see if ADA against Bitcoin can start going up again. And then here's our kind of messy double bottom, if you like. So when you get a double bottom, even if it's messy, if you break the high in the middle, you're on the way higher. So we can say in ADA above 584.80 Bitcoin, we're on our way up again. That's our 4-hour look. So I would say for me above this hourly 200 moving average, that would be it. So here's our sideways range on the hourly and ADA. If we can't break out of the top, we're not going up. But if we can, next swing higher, I think. So that's just our hourly look. So far, so good. Now, first target for ADA Bitcoin is 770, which is the big 236 fib. And then 770. We'll see what happens there. Again, against Bitcoin, this is not terribly inspiringly bullish sideways movement, is it yet? Let's just hope we can turn it into a trend. Okay, next one we're going to look at is FTM, which is so this one, so disappointing. I was really hoping that we were going to see one of those really nice vertical trends out of Phantom. So we had this, double bottom sideways range. We would break out. This would be support, and we would just launch higher. In fact, we've done a much deeper pullback in Phantom Bitcoin than I was hoping for. So let's see if this is an ABC correction. Sometimes these corrections can get a little bit funky sideways. So this looks to me like this is the A leg, And then we've gone B, and this is C. So I want to know, is that swing and that swing equal? And if they are, and we're sitting on this nice little hourly, 4 hourly, 200 moving average, this could be the perfect place to us to bounce from. So this swing, and it is the perfect place to us to bounce from. So we seem to be finding our feet down here. If we went any lower, so this is quite nice because you put your stop under this low. You can do this quite low risk, looking for a rally from here. This doesn't look ready for it though, does it? Now, if you just buy it here, that's, you have a tight stop, but you have no indicator you're going up. If you wait for this trend line to break and us to get back above these sort of hourly moving averages, then at least you do know that we are going up. So there we go. There's our little channel, if you like, for Phantom. Yeah, I do. This is a very good level to find support. It's just, will it do it? Will the buyers realize and step up? Let's see where we are. Yeah, 61.8. Okay, so that makes it nice and simple, being a 61.8 fib, doesn't it? Because now we can say that if we get above the 50%, we're going to at least the 38.2, and if not higher. So that's going to be our trigger, above 52 in these previous lows. That says we're on the move. 52 in Phantom Bitcoin. That's what to watch for. Okay. And again, target's going to be 75, which is the first big 236 fib. I'm going to zoom out to where we're looking at this from. Here we go. It's not the whole drop, it's just this most recent swing. We're going to go step by step, okay? So 75 will be our first target. If we get above that, we'll be looking up here to around these lows. And then if we go beyond that, we're going to look for 164. But we'll go step by step, and 75. Above 75, we can say, okay, we're on our way. Okay, that was FTM. The next one is band. Okay, here's band. This one's had a pretty nice move. This is a daily chart of band. I'm going to put my fib retrace all the way from this launch price. I'm looking at the dollar first, okay, and then we'll go and look at it against Bitcoin, just to see what's going on here. Make sure that because if we're not going up against the dollar, then not going to be much point against Bitcoin. Here we're at this funky 50% level. You know what happens when we stop at a 50%, don't you? If we come back more than the 236 going the other way, we're going to do 50% down. So we really need to hold this 38.2 level. So far, so good. It looks like we've dipped underneath it and we've bounced. But I'm just going to quickly pop this fib on the other way. Here we go. So right there, that's our pretty key support that we have to hold. If we don't, we're going to drop all the way down, 50% back. So let's see band Bitcoin. Okay, got a similar. So we went beyond the measured move. That was good. Let's put this on like this. See if we've stopped anywhere. Not so interesting here, is it, against Bitcoin, is it? So when I can't make the retrace levels line up, I look at projections usually. And I'm going to say this, they're not lining up either. I'm going to say this is in a pretty nice uptrend, and there's no reason to rule it out until it stops going up. And very common whilst you're going up is 50% back of the last swing. So sometimes it goes to 61.8 or more than that. But if we do that here on this most recent swing, because we're a ways from that 20 moving average. Here we are in this most recent swing, 61.8. So again, all bunched up with these moving averages. Here we are around the middle here at this 50%. We need to blast higher from here and then above the 38.2, because this is our golden ratio, if you like, consolidation zone. So we'll put a box around it. Okay. So we'll put our box around our golden ratio. So above here, we're looking pretty bullish. And if we lose 11,298, band is in a much bigger correction. And we should, instead of just looking at this fib from the most recent swing, we'll take this all the way down and we'll watch for this 236 fib to be support, which is always the most reliable one. From if you go all the way back to the lows, 2-3, in fact that's where it is. So adds weight, doesn't it, to this 11,900 level. Really don't want to close beneath it. If we do, we're going to see a much bigger correction. 10,085 and potentially 8,600 for band. So sitting on a really key level now, or whichever way you measure it, from this most recent swing or from the lows, 11,900 is key. We need to close back above it to keep going up. Okay, next one is Raven. Such a popular coin, Raven. And come on. Here we go. I've got Raven against the US dollar here. And against the US dollar, I have to say, I'm really not feeling this terribly bullish. Although we've got our above some daily moving averages, you know, these previous lows here have proved a lot of problem, Raven US dollar. And we've been stalled in this sideways range now for 6 days. 6 days of not going up. Sideways chop, really. If we break the highs, we've also got the immediate resistance of this 200 moving average. So I'm a little bit like, I feel like this is more like, I would be much more bullish on a sharp pattern like this if we retested the lows and found, you know, a big double bottom, and then that would make me go, hey, you know, because, yeah, or at least a bigger dip back to these lows and this daily 50 moving average, and that would be kind of a clear higher low. At the moment, this just looks like a rising wedge that any minute could go and break down. So if you're long Raven and you're looking at this, you know, keep an eye on that this doesn't break down. I'm going to use the 20 moving average. You could draw a trend line if you wanted. So Raven dollar, not moving higher, but not terribly inspiring yet. Let's see if Raven Bitcoin is a more inspiring chart. And I have to say, it kind of is, because this is a double bottom, and we have retested. So we had this choppy sideways, and we did retest the lows. And so this, I actually like much better than that dollar chart that we looked at. And these previous lows, you can see, are our really important resistance, 273 in the top of our sideways range. And we still do have to get above that 200 moving average. But I think it is worth a little punt, at least back to the top of the range, and 270. And then above 270, we could be on our way. Now, the key is going to be this 200 moving average, because there's another, you know, isn't it? This is the level here, is the 200 moving average at 300, and all these lows here. So we've got two resistance levels to get through, 270 and then 300. But if we can get above here, we've got above that 200 moving average before, and we just clattered all the way back underneath it again. To be bullish, we need to get not only above that 200 moving average, but we need to come back and then find a lower high and find some support from it and keep going, you know. And so that's going to be the issue. So this is by no means an uptrend yet, but a double bottom does make me think we have some potential here in Ravencoin. But above 300, I would like it much, much better. Much, much better. So I'm going to wait for me. Okay. Let somebody else do the heavy lifting and get it above that 300 level. And then we can step in and buy lots more and say thank you and help them and send it up. Okay. Raven then. I'm going to wait. MATIC. Yes, Andreas, I will look at Theta. Hasn't Theta done well? Let's see how, if we're ready to go up again in Theta. Okay, MATIC. When we look at that awful drop that we had in MATIC, sometimes I think, God, people are so brave to want to get back in. This double top look here in MATIC, wasn't that horrendous? Anyway, very similar, you know, we had quite a valiant bounce in this one from a 786 fib, and I am quite optimistic that we should do at least another swing higher in this one. But we had a, you know, when you get rejected at the 200 moving average like this, it's not an uptrend, it's still a sideways. Again, I'm going to say, you know, let someone do the heavy lifting and get it above this level. 210 is where MATIC needs to get above if we are really going to make any headway higher. And, you know, it's not just... Yeah, it's a tricky level. 210, and we're at 192 at the moment. I would leave it alone, honestly. I think that they're having gone ABC up here, or 3 waves up. I think we should, 5 waves up. I think we should be looking for at least 3 waves down, and that sets up a chance that we retest these lows. And so because that's a chance, I don't want to get involved yet. I think that we could just do an ABC before we go up again. So I'm going to be a little bit cautious and say go very carefully unless it gets above 210. And then MATIC, I think, will be looking quite good. So leave it for now. HBAR. Hetero hash graph. Okay, so today is the night of the 61.8 fibs, isn't it? So we looked at that in my group last week. We were hoping that we would get above this 50% level in the middle. This is hetero hash graph against Bitcoin. I've drawn my fib retraces from the lows in January to the highs that we made in March, and we bounced very nicely from this 61.8 fib. And above, we didn't quite tag it, the 200 moving average. But if you're going to bounce from a 61.8 and get up to the 38.2 and do that golden ratio swing, you have to get above the 50% here in the middle. And we couldn't do it. We couldn't close above it at 490. So sideways, flat daily moving averages in this range. And I wouldn't rule out while we're here that we don't kind of come down and do this again. And this time, you know, this 200 moving average maybe catches up. So especially underneath the 20 moving average again. So I'm neutral at this point. Has to do something to say, I'm really ready to go. So, see, it looks quite good here, doesn't it? But we could do this A, B, and then get rejected at this 50 again, and then we do this, you know. So I'm only at this point only interested in buying it if I see it above 490 and then hold above 490, and then I would be back in hetero hash graph. For otherwise, I would say a nice double bottom down here, or a tag of the 200-day moving average and a bounce. That would be more interesting buy for me around the 400 level and a better price too. So neutral, sideways, not really ready HBAR, I'm afraid. EMC2, Einsteinium. All of these coins keep looking so good, don't they? That was so bullish. And then just... One thing I will say, and I see this all the time, see how this 20 and this 50 moving average are the wrong way round? Even if it's a really bullish setup, if you come back to these moving averages and they're the wrong way around and you can't get above them, that's when you very often see that double bottom thing. And the next time you rally, these moving averages will have flipped over. They'll be the right way round and we'll have a really nice bullish setup. So I'm not bearish ahead of a hash graph. I just think that we may need to retest the lows before we take off again, or at least a bit more of a dip. So... Okay, EMC2. So this one's done a lot of the heavy work. This is Einsteinium against the US dollar. Lovely breakout from sideways, or what I was hoping was a breakout from this sideways consolidation with these moving averages. If you're looking at it against the dollar, we need to close above 0.0522 to keep going higher again. And we're a little bit stuck here. 0.0522 then, EMC2 against the dollar is what we're watching for. Tether. Okay, if we look at EMC2 Bitcoin, Einsteinium Bitcoin, yeah, so we've got the same thing going on. This 50% pivot middle thing. Okay, we bounced here, double bottom, we had a lovely double bottom, 786 fib, got back above the 61.8, so we really are going higher now. But we stalled at this 50%, so that means this 61.8 here should be support, and then we'll carry on up again. Let's see how we're doing. Looks okay so far. I'm going to switch to Heiken-Ashis because these candles look very bitty. Or 4-hour, hold on. Yeah, so in terms of fib levels, Einsteinium Bitcoin, we've done our first thing of correction. This next upswing, which is not quite ready yet. I'm looking for it to hold this really good support level. Look at all these lows here, around 530, and then turn up higher again. We're on our way above 605. I'm going to go back to the daily, and our target is 681. When you reverse at a 786 fib, which we did here, your first target is the 38.2. Your second target is the 236 fib at 776, but 681 is our first target. And then obviously a pullback, and then above there, we've got a pretty nice bottom. Retest the highs at 900, and then that's the reversal. But yeah, about this bounce from these moving averages and this fib level is very positive for Einsteinium. I like it. So look for 530 to hold, 528 to hold, and the next push higher for that one is a nice buy. TEL is the next one. TEL, I can't remember where I put it. Okay, there it is. Here's Altcoin. So this has been in quite a long downtrend. It's slowed down, but it's one of those grinding ones where we make a support, we try and hold it, get underneath it, and then once we're underneath it, it becomes pretty nasty. It keeps becoming pretty nasty resistance. Especially these closing prices. So if we look at it like this way here, these closing prices were high, we couldn't get back above them. Then if we move it down here to these lows, that's where we are now, and a little bit stuck. So 400 Altcoin Bitcoin, and this weekly 50 moving average is our key. Now, I consider that when we're in between these moving averages like this is a bit like no man's land. So we've had a really bullish run, 50% back of this candle should be where our support is and around here. And so maybe a little bit higher. There it is, at 285. So sideways consolidation, and then if we can hold 285, I'm looking for this one to turn up higher again. Looks like it had a pretty crazy spiky day, and it's come all the way back, unfortunately. So not quite ready, and sideways range. So let's take away that here, and here on the hourly we can draw a sideways range and see where we need to, just need to get out, don't we, of this. So we'll draw it like this. From these highs. False breakout from this wedge. So don't let it break down. That would be a sell. But if we can get back above 380, I think that Altcoin next leg higher. Lots of support here. I'd be shocked if we did break down, but you know, having gotten above this 200 moving average, but you know, it's happened before, so let's see. Okay, that's Altcoin, and then Geo. I put this one because sometimes breakouts are hard to spot, but in Geo, this looks like this was setting up to be one. We were looking at it this week. Okay. This is a Bittrex coin. See how spiky these are? But if we look all the way left here, literally since last summer, we have not been able to close above this level, 3219. Every time we try, we just get knocked back. And this is going to be the highest close in a year if we can close here, and indicates that we are hopefully next swing higher coming up. So this is what I'm looking at for a nice 4-hour buy setup here. Not quite out yet. It's definitely looking like we're on our way. Target is 4579 and the price now is 3332. Stop needs to be underneath this level at 3215, because if we are going to get above it, Secrets just wants to dump his Geo on you. Oh, does he? Okay. Just teasing me, is it? Okay. It's got a good look, that's all. I think, you know, I'm not anticipating the moon. Just 4,500 at the top of the range, and then potentially 7,100. Spent a long time building this rounding bottom. Okay. All right, we'll leave it there then. Okay, we've got some requests. The first one that we're going to look at is Link. I'm a big Link fan. So we'll start off looking at Link Tether, and we'll look at it on a weekly chart. So I put my fibs on this 61.8 here, and we are holding above it, which points to us continuing higher from here to the 786, and wrong if we close back underneath this level, which is 3.59. So on the daily, as long as we can hold 3.59, we look to continue higher in Link dollar to 4.2. Sideways range again, but you know, so many of these markets are doing the same thing at the moment. But that's our key support. If I was long of Link, a daily close below 3.59 and a daily close below this 20 moving average, and I would be out and waiting for a bigger pullback. So that's my Link dollar view. Nice, bullish, and quite close to where we're wrong, which means, wait, I don't want BitPay. Well, I don't mind it. I just, hold on. Let's look at Link Bitcoin. Now in this one, Link Bitcoin, we had a much bigger pullback thanks to the moves in Bitcoin. When you reverse at a 786 FIP, which we did up here, your target is the 38.2. And usually you will come back to either the 38.2 or the 236, and then you will go back to the middle, 50% somewhere in the middle, and you will either then continue lower or you will break out, carry on, and it will become a pivot level if you like. So here, now that we're bouncing from these lows very nicely, this 38.2 and this 50% level in the 20 moving average, I think that's where we're headed to back to next. We should. So that's 44,870. And then if we get back above that 20 moving average, we can say that next swing, whatever that takes us, is underway. Really though, we've been in quite a long time in a big sideways range, haven't we? And this is kind of right in the middle. I'm a bit of a don't diddle in the middle fan, you know, because we could very easily, if we're tightening up into a wedge, do this, you know, and we do this, we go up, and then we make a, you know, and tighten, coil it up. It's like we're coiling up tighter and tighter. But short term, I'm bullish link, and above sort of 45,000, 45,500, and that daily 20 moving average, potentially, yeah, we're done and we're on our next swing higher. I'm just not 100% convinced yet. So if we, you know, we've done this before, haven't we? Seen this movie before. We have a lovely rally, pullback. This is our A leg, B leg, and then C legs carry on. And if we, you know, repeat it again, which would be weird, but you know, so I'm not 100% sure we're out of the woods yet. For sure, I think we'll bounce, and then we'll see what happens. As a long-term buy, for me, I would prefer to see Link tag this daily 20 moving average. So Link Bitcoin, definitely a bounce. Link US dollar. We'll go back, take a look. Still bullish and looking for 4.24 next. Zcash, ZEC is the next one. Okay. Yeah, I'll just get that one. Let me see where. I think I closed the page. I got so many. I keep the charts just because I don't like to rewrite the wheel every time I look at a chart, you know. I like to try and save all my scribblings on it, at least what I was thinking last time. So, and I see some people feel quite ill when they look at all the charts that I've got open. Okay, we're going to look at Zcash. First up chart here, we've got it against Bitcoin. God, this has been a beast, hasn't it? You'd think we could just do a pullback and let's get going, but right. I'm going to measure this swing. I want to know, is this correction over in ZEC? Have we done enough yet? And I feel like if I measure this swing and this rally, that we haven't, and it's going to come back to 46.59. That's where this swing would be 61.8 of the first swing and the most likely place, and these previous lows. So, you know, underneath the 200-day today in ZEC, Zcash Bitcoin, that's where it's pointing. And this is a really strong, like, it's not just, this is a strong support level. If we go left, you know, from these highs, it's quite, sometimes you have to fiddle to catch all of the highs and lows. But yeah, pretty good support down here as well. So 46.52. So underneath, it's got to do a couple of things to make me want to buy it now. It's got to do a really strong rally and get back above this 200 moving average, or make a base, or back down to here and then support. I would be more interested. I'm going to take this 38.2 off. Didn't make it target. Damn it. Damn. I just want to see. Okay. Yeah, this 786 fib I think that's where we're coming back to. So, yeah, a little bit further to fall, unfortunately, for Zcash. More consolidation, just not ready to go yet as Zcash Bitcoin. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Zcash dollar isn't going to go up. It just means that Bitcoin is going to go up more for a little bit. Because if we look at Zcash US dollar, you know, this chart's not shabby. It's above 200 moving average, above all of our daily moving averages, holding above this 236 fib. So if you're holding ZEC, it's likely to increase in value. It's just not going to go up quite as much as Bitcoin, that's all. In fact, I love how we're holding this 43 level and this daily 20 moving average. Looks like all set to carry on and push higher from here. Let's take just this swing. Wait, not that. 50%, okay. So this is a 50% from this high. Watch out that we don't lose these lows here in this 200 moving average, because then we could do 50% back before we go higher again. So sideways consolidation. Don't let it drop under 40 in Zcash US dollar if you're watching that one. Okay, next one. ZIL, Theta, and then Nano. Nice charts, especially ZIL. What's been going on with ZIL? It's been on fire, hasn't it? Let's see. Okay, here is Zilliqa Bitcoin. Oops, sorry, I'm not. I'm going to start with my daily chart. So we've had this spectacular rally. Broke up this morning when we broke up above this 38.2 fib. And we have gone all the way. We were looking at this 61.8 to see if it would pause here. Gone all the way to the 786 fib today. Like, this has gone a very, very long way in a hurry. But if you're now, because if you think of these fibs like a staircase, okay, each level before you go through it is resistance, and then once you're above it should be support. And so in this case, we can say that 80 on a pullback, if we're going to keep trending higher and we're not going to stop here, is going to be where our support is. And then our next resistance, I think, is a little bit higher at 91. And then I've been looking for this 236 fib up here at 116 for a while. If we can break out of this sideways range, it's quite a bottom we've been building here, though, isn't it? And this 90, 91 level has been pretty tough support and resistance. A daily close above that would be a really good bullish signal that we're on our way to that 116 target. So 80 is where we need to see support hold. We've been back and forward today. I think we need to see a bit, yeah, where would I? It's hard to get in, isn't it? So you need these moving averages to catch up a little bit more. So if this is, yeah, I would say when this 4-hour kind of really needs to reset. I think I'm going to say one more swing, and then we'll see on the daily if we can close above that 80 level. Then that tomorrow I would look for 80 to be support. For now, this has gone too far for me to consider tonight as a long entry, to find a long entry. So wait for it and wait for tomorrow. Either this 80 level or maybe a little, it might sneak a little bit lower, 50% back of this open close, but you need to buy a pullback after it calms. It needs a bit more calm down, if you know what I mean. Do I think it looks good? Looks fantastic, doesn't it? But you need a pullback if you haven't got any. Okay, Theta. Theta's not is doing the same thing. So it's doing some nice sideways consolidation. It hasn't broken out of it yet, or it hadn't before we started tonight when I looked at it. Let's see where we are in theta. Yeah, here we are. So this is theta Bitcoin. We're looking at this. So we've had, I've been looking short term. First of all, my big target is up here, this big 236 fib level, okay? Around 1900, 1900. But short term, this most recent swing, I put the fibs on just this because they've been working really well as like support and resistance level. And when you get above one, you go up to the next and so on. And so we've done it here. 1537 has been this 61.8. Was resistance here. We got above it, pulled back and tested it, and it was support. And so we're holding above it. As long as we hold above 1537, I'd like to see us break out of this to the upside. And then 1710, 1813, and then all the way up here to 1931, our target next. So if you are long, move your stop up, keep it nice and tight underneath sort of 1500, 1520. That would be good, because if we break down underneath this, we've probably topped. And if you haven't got any, well, you either wait till we break out and then you buy some, or you wait until this holds again and the next time buy some. So that's what I'm looking for in theta Bitcoin. Bullish consolidation, waiting for a break higher. And we're wrong, back underneath 1530. Okay, and then in Nano, been a while, Nano. Need to have a bit of a chart tidy up here. Here we go. Okay, so there's a couple of ways I would, when I'm looking at this as this tether chart. So we're trying to make our way higher here in Nano. This is another one. We've gotten above these lows here, and then this low here seems to be the sticky one from back in September. Climbing our way back up through these horizontal support and resistance levels. If I put my fib on this most recent swing, let's see where we are. And then we'll go and take a look at Bitcoin. So we're trying to creep higher. Oh look, yeah, we are above the 38. You'd think that this, you know, when the way this 50% of this swing and this 200 moving average lines up, that's got to be a pretty good magnet level next, hasn't it? 0.7395. So as long as we hold above 0.6239, we should be looking for this to carry on higher to that 50% and see what happens there. So 0.7395 in Nano Tether. So more to go higher in Nano Tether. Let's see how Nano Bitcoin's doing. Do a bit of a chart tidy up here as well. We'll move the slow down to here. So it looks like let's take this one off as well. So it looks like in April we had a pretty good rally off the lows here, but 50%, 200 moving average, gosh, that stopped us dead. Exactly here, 50% like. So we've had a sharp pullback. Now, if you're going to make a harmonic pattern here, so if this is our A leg and this is our B leg, the rules say that we should go to at least the 1 point. If we don't make a new low and we rally from here, we should go to at least 1.618 of this swing, if not 2.618. So let's mark where that would be in a different color. Take away these. And 1.618, 2.618, it will be orange. Okay, 1.618 takes us up here to this 886 in a back pattern, which is what it should be. Good. Okay, that's where our target is. 1130 to 1150. That's our target zone if we can rally from here. And if we, well, I'm not going to draw a fake trend line, but that's where I'd be looking for. So how do we know that we're going to rally from here? Well, I'm going to put the 236 fib on and that daily 20 moving average. That's what we've got to get above. And I honestly wouldn't be tempted to buy it before then, because I think we're in a pretty nasty downtrend. So it would get my attention above 757 and above these daily moving averages. For now, though, it's pretty neutral, and I'd rather be in Bitcoin, I think, for nano. Okay. I have finished. So thank you very much for coming. Again, the end of this week, we do have a lot of risk of volatility. And then this weekend, going into the halving, it's quite interesting because unlike the halving for Litecoin, where everybody had really big expectations, haven't heard anybody being overly bullish about this Bitcoin halving, which is really quite good news. In fact, I feel like people are still quite cautious and bearish, which makes me feel a little bit better to be long, for sure. But you know, if stock, I don't know. I can't see how anyone would be surprised about a bad jobs number, but that doesn't mean that it can't be truly horrible. Now, I remember somebody asking me for Ripple, and I see it didn't make the list. So here we are in Ripple. See how in all those other just charts we just looked at, how 50% back and that 200 moving average has always been a really tricky place for altcoins when you rally back to them. In Ripple dollar here, from this high to this low, this 50% back and this 200 moving average, this is not a good place to reverse. We would still be quite bearish and in a downtrend if we can't get above here. So in Ripple dollar, that's 0.23041. Okay, above here would be a really positive sign for Ripple, a really positive sign. And then I'm going to zoom out on the daily here. And I'm going to say, you know, this last bit would be, yeah, no, maybe not, but yeah, we would look much better. I'm going to say I'm going to look at this last bigger swing in terms of fib targets then, and we would look back to these lows and above this 236 and a much bigger move. Okay, but at the moment we're stuck at a really sticky level in Ripple dollar. So we don't want to see a reversal lower from here. So where would a break, if you're long, where would you be wrong to be long Ripple? Well, if this 236 fib breaks down. So so a daily close below 0.2071, you're going to see a bigger drop in Ripple. So perfect test of it today and a very nice bounce. So no reason to panic yet. In fact, a nice looking ABC correction, and we're all on our way back to test the highs, but we've really got to clear that 50% level and that 200 moving average to see more upside for Ripple dollar. And Ripple Bitcoin, are we outperforming Bitcoin? We were outperforming Bitcoin. Are we going to continue to? No, it's not inspiring against Bitcoin yet, is it? Just a bit like the dollar, you know, we've been in this long declining wedge. Eventually it should resolve to the upside, and in terms of horizontal support, this is as good as it gets, isn't it, in Ripple here? And we've held it again. So let's make it a bit thicker. There you can see these lows from this very first low here. We're potentially on a pretty nice place to bounce from. Giselle, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Everyone's been really nice tonight. So, you know, it's nice to have something to focus on, isn't it? Like, I don't know how many of you are under quarantine or stuck at home, or maybe you're in Spain and you're just finally allowed out again. Thank God, you must be so happy. Or Italy. So, I don't know, it's been an emotional ride, hasn't it? So, are you, Michael? You're back at work. Well done. Yeah, it's been an emotional ride. Like in some countries, this is when I wish I lived in, New Zealand or Australia or somewhere. But I'll be glad when this is over, and we still have an economy. Let's hope. All right, everyone. See you next week. If you're a Mexican and you're celebrating Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, have a tequila for me. And really be careful end of this week, because things could get quite volatile. Okay, bye everyone.